Welcome to Abstract Audio, the podcast presenting life as an abstract art form. The show that encourages you to perceive beyond the tangible, to extract the infinite from the finite, to see with the mind what you cannot physically see with the eyes. Oh, it's an emancipation. It's an exploration into areas usually overlooked. Explore with me on today's episode. Salutations, conversation seekers. You're back with your host, Amber Janae, on Season 2, Episode 4 of the Abstract Audio Podcast. As always, I'm so happy to have you here with us. And honey, I was over the moon to have had such a great guest on here last episode. If you haven't caught it yet, be sure to tune into my conversation with fellow podcaster, Donnie D. Our convo on reality brought up so many interesting points. But as it turns out, just as many questions. So I just wanted to start out with one for you guys today. What would you do if you woke up tomorrow and your sight was just gone? If you woke up to nothing but pitch blackness? Would you cry, scream, panic? All of the above, probably. Well, this was the reality for one of my coworkers' children just a few years ago. Luckily, she regained her sight after a few months, but her mother relayed to me she had never been quite the same since. And that got me thinking. If we do in fact control our reality to an extent, and we filter that reality through unreliable and biased lenses, does sight limit our understanding on the world, or does it enhance it? If sight is the primary sense through which we experience the world, what happens when we close our eyes? The topic this week? Insight and observation. As I'm sure you've noticed by now, we seem to live in a society that craves desperately to be seen. Sometimes even to our own detriment. Hell, most times to our own detriment. You know it's true, come on. We kill ourselves trying to be the flashiest, the flyest, the loudest, the cleanest in the room. Especially in the Black community, okay? We as a people like to show up and show out, even if it's nothing really worth showing. I mean, can you blame us though? It's a rush, right? Having all eyes on you. All eyes on me. The truth is, whether it makes you feel uncomfortable or empowered, it undeniably makes you feel something. But besides that, what is it that draws us to the limelight? What is it about being seen that's so appealing and addictive? Sure, you can claim it's solely for the purpose of social connection or self-expression, just like you could claim social media is for the same. But come on now, we just talked reality last episode, so let's be real here. Don't lie to me.
You ain't got to lie, Craig. You ain't got to lie.
Those 20 dozen selfies adorning your Instagram page aren't just there so you can make new friends or network. That shit is for you. It's your desire for recognition and influence. It's your ego searching for validation. And as many performers, photographers, and artists can tell you, I'm hoping to have a great photographer sit in with us next episode, by the way, so stay tuned. But they'll tell you firsthand that people are literally jumping off bridges and laying down in the middle of busy streets to get that perfect selfie. And just like mom used to say, seeing them do it has us thinking it's cool to do it too. Or even more terrifyingly, it gets us thinking, how can I top that, right? Yeah, many of us have fallen victim to the idea that being seen somehow gives you this sort of existential significance. And I don't know about other races, but for us Blacks, this dates back to, you guessed it, slavery. Sure, looking good has always been acquainted to feeling good, but back then, white slave owners used to have us get dressed up in our Sunday best, often their hand-me-downs, to parade around and be seen at church. The tradition stuck around and here we are, still peacocking. I honestly hate the idea that we live in a society that puts so much emphasis on the outside and what can be seen with the eyes. I mean, those slaves were going to church to worship the unseen, but somewhere down the line we started confusing or correlating what is good with what looks good. We claim to believe so deeply in things that we can't see, all the while putting so much emphasis on things we can. How'd that work? And this may hit even harder for the men out there, but you know y'all visual creatures. Pretty women without substance are some niggas' bread and butter. We're looking at you, male gaze. I mean, I'll give the rest of y'all the benefit of the doubt, though. By now, I'm sure most of you guys have realized that not all that glitters is really gold, and that it's the things you can't see that matter most in life. I mean, just take relationships, for instance. A lot of us women have had something called the 90-day rule in place. And I'm sure you know how that works. We're not trying to have sex until you've essentially proven yourself and your commitment to us. We gotta like what we see in regards to your actions. Because truth be told, anybody can front their move for the first couple months. And a lot of people do, which is why you gotta be careful about who and what you let into your life. But that does beg the question. For women to always claim to be so intuitive, we sure as hell don't have the foresight to know when a nigga ain't shit. We be that so raven when it comes to everything else, but when it comes to love, we're blinded. We want so badly to be seen by someone else, so badly to be loved and accepted that we often ignore what's right in front of our actual eyes. And trust me, I'm speaking from experience here. I used to think of my life like that old saying, you know how it goes. If a tree falls in the middle of the forest and no one's around to see or hear it, does it really make a sound? Yeah, that one. I used to wonder, if no one was around to experience life with me, how was I supposed to know what I was experiencing was even real? If there's no one to perceive the event of the tree falling, or in this case, my life happening, can we know for certain that it happened? What do you think? Does knowledge require observation? And if not, how can we navigate in the world where seeing isn't always believing? Enter the third eye, a universal symbol of our inner vision that transcends ordinary sight. Associated with intuition, insight, and spiritual awareness, it's what helps us navigate through the bullshit. It's that gut feeling, that unexplained level of understanding. The crazy thing is, it's also linked to our imagination and creativity. By accessing that inner vision, we can visualize new possibilities, ideas, and solutions that may not have been immediately apparent in the physical world. And as our guest last week, Donnie, was saying, creativity and imagination is crucial to building a reality we're proud to exist in. And for those of you listening to this and saying, well, I'm woke, my third eye's open, why haven't I physically seen any changes in my favor? Well, look around you. What are you actually seeing on a daily basis? All you do is scroll social media, watch crime documentaries, porn, and Bad Girls Club. What the fuck do you expect? They literally say, hear no evil, speak no evil, and most fittingly, see no evil for a reason. You have to be mindful of what you consume. Instead of watching all that garbage, instead try watching yourself, observing your own mind. Okay, I know that sounded like a thinly veiled threat, but trust me, it was meant to be uplifting. I mean, God's all-knowing, all-seeing, and people love him, right? Or do we love the idea of God as a belief because an all-knowing and all-seeing God satisfies that human craving to be seen and understood on a profound level? Unlike human beings whose perceptions are limited, God sees and knows everything about us, including our thoughts, feelings, and intentions. This can give us that sense of ultimate recognition and validation. It doesn't really get more seen than that. To me, one of the most interesting things about believing in a God that's constantly watching us is that it comes with the feeling that we should be on our best behavior, right? I mean, he sees you when you're sleeping, he knows when you're awake, and if you're good enough, he gifts you with eternal life. Yep, the Santa Claus of the spirit realm. And just like Santa gets kids to shape up around the holidays, God and his watchful eye have straightened out many a crooked path. And not only is this phenomenon interesting, it's also backed by science. Yeah, in psychology, they actually call this the Hawthorne effect. It refers to the phenomenon where individuals modify or change their behavior in response to being observed. Not necessarily because of the specific actions of the observer, but simply because they're being watched. And sometimes it manifests in ways that are positive, and other times not so much. I mean, I think we've all been there, right? Like we're doing something we've done 1,000 times in the past, but let somebody come look over our shoulder while we do it. 9 times out of 10, we get flustered. To me, that's why micromanaging in the workplace never truly accomplishes anything. People do some of their best work behind the scenes, away from the public eye. As an introvert myself, though, the public eye never really had much appeal. Maybe it's because at heart I'm a writer, and you can't really write with a ton of people around. Even outside of that, I typically keep to myself. And I just don't really enjoy attention. I mean, you could probably tell by now, but my outside appearance doesn't really match the inside. Don't judge a book by its cover, am I right? Oh, and by the way, my self-published book of poetry will be available for purchase on Amazon as of May 18th. So be sure to check that out. But it's true. I mean, people take one look at my tattoos or my hair or my makeup and instantly assume I like standing out. When in reality, it's just the opposite was true for most of my life. There were times I would have given anything to fit in. But at the end of the day, that's just not who I am. When I wake up and open my eyes every day, thanking God for another chance to play this simulated ass game called life, when I look in the mirror and say my affirmations, I don't see this fucking skin suit or pounds of tatted flesh. I see my essence. And it may not always be pretty, but it's raw and unfiltered. In touch with myself and untouched by the bogus standards that seemingly corrupt everything we have to physically see nowadays. I mean, I'm certainly no role model here, but that's what I want for every one of us. Freedom from their mirrors, freedom from the evil eye. And focusing on anything in the physical for too long lowers our vibration. That shit doesn't do anything but hold us back. It's why in Eastern philosophies like Hinduism and Buddhism, mirrors are sometimes seen as symbolic of Maya, or the illusionary nature of the material world. And just as the mirror reflects a distorted image that's not true to self, the material world reflects an illusionary reality that distracts us from realizing our true nature. And not only that, but mirrors can perpetuate this sort of illusion of separateness, reinforcing the idea that we're separate individuals, distinct from others and the world around us, when in reality, we're all one. Yep, one love, one heart, one big old fucked up family. And I see you guys watching this as my family too. So be sure to click those links below to support your girl Abstract fam. As always, thank you so much for joining us. Go ahead and share, comment, subscribe if you heard anything you liked. Because that's all for today's episode. Remember to follow us on all the socials at The Abstract Audio Show and visit us on the interwebs to stay up to date and in the loop. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and always appreciate the abstract in your life.